Imagine pouring your life, maybe decades, into building a business from scratch. Really successful. You've watched it grow, become a name people know. Maybe it's been in the family for generations. And then you hit this crossroads. How do you make sure that legacy, everything you've built, carries on? Especially if, the next generation isn't really interested, or maybe you're just ready for something new yourself. So today we're doing a deep dive into something really interesting happening across India right now. It's this meeting point, this convergence between traditional family-owned businesses, sometimes multi-generational ones, and private equity firms, the investment firms with deep pockets. We're seeing this with all sorts of companies, from bakeries people love locally to massive luggage manufacturers. They're finding these new partners. And our mission today is really to unpack the why behind this handshake. What's pushing these family businesses towards private equity? And on the flip side, why are PE firms so interested in these legacy operations all of a sudden?
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is how private equity, which, let's be honest, often gets tagged with being short-term focused, right? It's now being talked about as patient capital.
Mm.
And that kind of capital, well, it speaks the same language, that long-term language, as these traditional family businesses. It's created this alignment that maybe 10 years ago we wouldn't have really expected.
That's a really interesting way to put it, patient capital. But I mean, for a lot of people listening, PE still has that reputation, maybe for aggressive changes, quick turnarounds. Is this shift genuine, a fundamental change? Or is it more about adapting to the Indian market specifically? What's in it for them driving that shift?
It's definitely an adaptation, I'd say. The Indian market is quite unique. You've got these really established businesses, deep roots, but also huge growth potential. So for PE, it's about spotting value that needs a bit more time maybe to unlock. Strategic input over a longer horizon. They're not always just looking for that quick flip anymore. They're seeing the potential for, sustainable value creation, often alongside the families themselves.
Okay, so it's this surprising meeting of minds almost. These long-term family legacies connecting with, well, seemingly longer-term focused investors now. So let's get into the first part of this story. What is it that's actually pushing these established family businesses, after maybe generations of doing it themselves, to look for outside partners?
Well, the first thing, and it seems to be the most common theme popping up, is a big demographic shift. It's this no error, no problem situation. Basically, the whole idea of multi-generational ownership is changing because the younger generations, their aspirations are different. Millennials, Gen Z, they're often choosing their own careers, different paths, not automatically stepping in to run the family show.
Yeah, and the VIP Industries example really brings that home, doesn't it? Dilip Piramal, he's the promoter, the main guy at VIP Industries, huge luggage maker, second largest in the world. He said it straight out. His two daughters just weren't interested in running the company. And he felt, a change of management was needed. The current setup wasn't getting the results. They were losing market share. It really shows it's not just some abstract trend. It's a very real personal challenge for these families.
Exactly. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, you hear people like Sridhar Sankaraman from Multiples Alternate Asset Management saying that Indian families are getting more comfortable handing over a significant stake or even control to a PE firm, precisely because there isn't that clear succession plan. And crucially, they often still hold on to a piece of the company, so they're riding the upside on their residual stake. It's not like they're just walking away completely. They stay invested.
Okay, so that's the next generation angle. But what about the founders themselves, the older generation? Is their age playing a role here too, separate from just who takes over?
Oh, absolutely. That's another major driver. You've got this aging crop of promoters, as they say. Take Piramal again. He's turning 76. He explicitly said he was, and I quote, running out of fuel to keep operating a publicly listed firm. It's just a practical recognition, right? Running a big, growing company, especially a listed one, takes enormous energy. That might naturally decrease over time.
And there's an emotional side to it too, or maybe a strategic one about the family's future wealth. VT Bharadwaj from A91 Partners mentioned something interesting. He said sometimes promoters choose PE because they want to give their younger generation money to live instead of a business to run, which is quite a thought. It's about providing financial security, maybe freedom, rather than the obligation of the business itself.
And that connects to another point Bharadwaj made, thinking about the long game. Imagine a promoter, maybe in their 50s. They're thinking about taking the company public, but they realize, hang on, running a public company successfully, that might take another 15, 20 years of intense commitment. Maybe they feel they cannot run it for another 15, 20 years effectively. So a PE partnership becomes a really smart, logical way to manage that transition, maybe bring in professional management, and plan for an eventual exit.
Right. So it's not just succession or age driving this. Many families have already built something great, but now they're looking for that next boost. They want a catalyst for their next phase of growth. They see PE as bringing something new to the table. But if these businesses have already been successful for so long, why can't they just generate that catalyst internally? What is it specifically that a PE firm offers that the family structure might lack?
That's a fair question. Often it's more than just the money, though the capital helps, obviously. PE firms bring operational know-how, they bring networks, connections, and often more formalized structures and governance. They can help professionalize management, maybe optimize the supply chain, bring in new tech, help with acquisitions, stuff the family might be brilliant at in their core business, but maybe lack the specific skills or bandwidth for, say, a massive expansion or a complex digital shift.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've looked at why the families are reaching out. Let's flip it. What about the private equity firms? Why are they suddenly so keen on India's traditional legacy businesses? They haven't always focused here, have they?
No, they haven't always. Part of it is the PE ecosystem in India,
Hmm.
just maturing. These firms are realizing it can be quite useful to buy out Indian businesses and turn them around.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting more sophisticated about it, even hiring specialist operators to advise them or step in. It shows they're serious about the operational improvements, not just financial engineering. They're becoming more like active partners.
That definitely sounds like a shift. But isn't it, well, more complicated for PE to get involved with these traditional companies compared to, say, tech startups? More effort, maybe slower returns? What's the attraction despite that?
It can be more complex, sure. You might have to dig deeper into operations. Maybe the turnaround takes longer. But the flip side is, these businesses often come with established markets, brand loyalty people trust, and sometimes more predictable cash flows. Less volatile than early-stage tech, perhaps. K. Ramakrishnan from Spark Capital Advisors put it well. He said there's greater interest to invest in conventional businesses now than earlier. Why? Because some sectors are becoming more organized, maybe ripe for consolidation. That presents interesting avenues to build scale.
Hmm.
He also talked about opportunities for platformization, building integrated systems and linking up the value chain, especially in manufacturing. That's really driving deals.
Okay, consolidation, platform building. Makes sense. So we have the family's motivations, the PE firm's growing interest. How does partnering with PE actually compare to other options a business owner might have, like selling out completely to a bigger company in the same industry?
That's a key consideration, isn't it? What kind of future does the promoter want? Venkat Subramanyam from Veda Corporate Advisors highlights the advantages of the PE route. Things like a phased exit with upside, so you don't sell everything at once. You still benefit if the company grows. Also, lesser concerns on conflicts compared to maybe merging with a direct competitor. You can restructure the ownership, the cap table, gain consolidation benefits, but still keep some flavor of entrepreneurship. Plus, he points out, PE funds are often outbidding strategic buyers, those bigger companies, and they can move faster, be swifter in getting the deal done. It's a compelling package.
Right, it offers that middle ground, that flexibility. Let's make this more concrete. Can we look at some numbers, some actual deals to see how big this trend really is?
Yeah, the momentum is definitely picking up. Just look at this year, 2025. So far, we've already seen 5 deals of this type that actually matches the total number for the whole of 2024 and the value of these deals in 2025. Already over $650 million, which is about 5,500 crore rupees.
Wow, 5 deals already matching all of last year, and that kind of value, that's quite a jump. What does that tell you about where this is headed? And we've seen some big names involved too, right? Like the Multiples Consortium buying into VIP Industries, which we mentioned, and Grace Capital buying, what was it, 90% of Theobroma, that popular bakery chain.
Exactly. It signals this isn't just a blip. It seems like a real structural shift. Both sides are getting more comfortable, more confident in these partnerships. And it's not always about selling a majority stake either. Think about Singapore's Temasek. They took about a 9–10% stake in Haldiram's, the snacks giant, for a huge amount, around 8,500 crore rupees. Even taking significant minority stakes shows just how much interest there is from PE in these established Indian family businesses now.
Okay, so the potential upside seems clear for both sides. It looks promising, but realistically, it can't all be smooth sailing. What are the potential downsides, the risks? What's the other side of this coin we should be aware of?
No, you're right. It's not always straightforward. While many partnerships work out well, some do run into trouble. You hear about deals turning sour, often because of, well, differences in opinions, management style, and more.
Hmm.
You can imagine, right, the culture clash between A very traditional, maybe paternalistic family business and a more corporate, data-driven PE firm, that can be a real challenge sometimes. It needs careful management from both sides.
And I guess for the family, the promoter, the biggest single fear probably boils down to valuation, right? That feeling of being lowballed, selling too early, leaving a ton of money on the table, especially in a market like India that's growing so fast.
That is absolutely the core tension. It taps right into what people call the great Indian compounding story.
Hmm.
There's this anecdote an investor shared about a pharma company. Back in 2013, they got a buyout offer, 700 crore rupees. The promoters thought about it, but decided, no, let's keep going, let's build it ourselves. Fast forward 10 years to 2023, that same company raised new money at a valuation of 8,000 crore rupees.
Wow.
Yeah, a massive jump, more than 10 times. And later, they apparently issued shares valuing the company at 11,000 crore. So, as that investor said, the question, what if I am leaving money on the table? That question really haunts a promoter. It's the classic dilemma, certainty now versus potentially huge upside later.
That story just captures it perfectly, doesn't it? That tension between taking a significant certain deal today versus backing your own vision for potentially exponential growth down the road. It's more than just numbers. It's about risk, legacy, how you define wealth creation. So bringing it all together, what does this mean for the future of Indian business, for India Inc.? This handshake feels, like you said, less transactional, maybe more transformational.
I think that's a good way to put it. Looking at the big picture, for the PE firms, these legacy companies offer something valuable, resilience, decades of built-up market trust. That's a solid foundation, especially in a dynamic economy. And for the family businesses, well, these partnerships offer a shot at scale, structure, professionalization, and sometimes, frankly, survival in a changing market. So this alliance, whether it's driven by succession issues or a strategic push for growth, it really is quietly redrawing the map of India Inc. It's shaping a new chapter for many of these established players.
Okay, so thinking about that great Indian compounding story again, that pharma company example, how do you think family business owners are actually weighing that? The certainty of a PE deal now against that potential for much, much higher future value if they stick with their own vision and keep it growing. And what does that constant tension, that decision being made by more and more companies mean for the wider Indian economy? Who gets to be the custodian of these established businesses going forward? Something to think about.